Hello everyone, Robin here, and I'm back with another video for you, and this time I'm reviewing The Words of Kings and Prophets by Shauna Lawless, and that's published by Head of Zeus. This is a sequel. It's the second book in the Gale Song series. The first book is called... This is the second book in the Gale Song series. The first book was called The Children of Gods and Fighting Men, and this one is called The Words of Kings and Prophets. They've got quite a nice... I love those titles, the way they work together. In this book, in the series is heavily based on Irish mythology and history. It's set in the 11th century, around the year 1000, and they trace the rise historically of Brian Boru, and they also follow the lives more closely of two ostensibly they look to be human, but they're actually not human. They're members of two factions of great Irish Celtic traditional myth. We have Fóla, who is a descendant of the Tuatha De Danann, and we have Gormla, who is a member of the Fomorians. I talked in a previous video about how now I'm doing videos, I have to learn how to pronounce everything. I probably mangled most of the pronunciations in my head, although there is a pronunciation guide at the beginning of the book. The first book in the series is quite political, it's quite military, there's a lot of combat. It deals with a lot of the rise of Brian Boru to become King of Ireland, and so there's lots of battles, there's lots of factions, lots of Viking factions and factions in northern England and Scotland. And if I had a criticism of it, I would say that gets quite... technical is the wrong word, but you've got to hold it all in your head and work out what's happening. The characterization is really strong, but there's perhaps less character interaction than I might like. In this book, we now have an uneasy peace, and that gives time for the characters to shine. We see them about their daily lives. There's still sort of politics on a very personal level, but it's not sort of armies moving across the board, as it were. And I really like this novel. I think it really grows in strength. It takes all the good things from the first novel and kind of channels them and it makes them even better. So we've got the interaction of we follow Gormla, who is queen, married to Brian Boru now, so she's sort of queen of Ireland, or that part of Munster, I think, that part of Ireland. And we have Fóla, who is sort of hiding. She's a healer, and she's hiding her identity away. So we've got various factions. We've got the factions between the Fomorians and the Tuatha De Danann. They don't like each other. The Tuatha De Danann basically try to wipe out the Fomorians, and the Fomorians, the remaining ones, want their revenge. And then you've got that faction. You've got the factions within Ireland, all the different kings of Ireland sort of vie for supremacy. And you've got in among the descendants of the Tuatha De Danann, there's political factions in there. So there's lots of personal politics going on, which I found much easier to relate to than maybe the big combat politics of the first book. And it's really great. There's some really brilliant characterizations. Shauna Lawless has given a chance to sort of let her characters breathe. There's lots of skullduggery going on, and some of the characters in the book are actually really quite horrible. You made me really kind of wince and sort of really want them to fail. And conversely, there's some characters who you really, really want to succeed. So really tied into the book emotionally in this second book. So on the face of it, this book is kind of, it feels like a holding book. Now that might seem like a criticism, and in other books I would consider it a criticism, but in this book I didn't at all. It's kind of, everything's setting up for possibly a finale, or certainly for the next stage. But I found it really absorbing. It was like the middle game of a game of chess, maybe played on one of those sort of traditional, like the Isle of Lewis chess set. All the pieces being moved in position, absorbing lots going on, kind of, getting everybody into position for the end game. And it was really, really exciting. And the novel peaks at the end, and I'm desperate to know how things are going to resolve itself. As I said at the beginning, this is the second book in the Gale Song series, so it might be a trilogy, or it might have more. It definitely could have more. The Fomorians and the Tuatha De Danann, they live for a very long time, so they could actually extend through a lot of Irish history, which I think would be really great. So, while Brian Boru's story obviously does come to an end in real life, the actual history of Ireland obviously continues for another 1,020 years or so. So it could go on and on and on, and I really hope it does, because I find it's not an area I know a lot about. So the mythology is interesting and the history is interesting, and it's brought wonderfully to life by Shauna Lawless. And I would thoroughly recommend that you go check this book out. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon somewhere in the book garden.